Hello and welcome. If you're anything like me, that AA literature on your shelf is much like the tools in your garage. Dusty, someone else's property, and generally uninteresting. Well, in this video series, I'm dusting off all of the AA literature, and in this particular video of the series, the 12 and 12, the 12 steps and 12 traditions. I'm going to tell you what it is, do a quick and easy, short and sweet summary on it right here in this video. First, real quick, if you're new here, my name is James. I am a grateful recovering addict and alcoholic. I drank and used recklessly for 20 years. I've been recovering for damn near 4. I post videos right here on this channel every week. Feel free to subscribe and hit the bell, like and share to get this message out there. Explore the description for links to books like these and the websites, resources, and scroll all the way down to comment. Share with us your experience, strength, and hope, and any questions you have. In this video series, I cover the AA Big Book, 12 Steps, and it's in a playlist. I entitled it AA Books, Check Them Out. And I'm just briefly summarizing what are these books. My last video was on the Big Book. Feel free to check that out. And this one is on the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. You may ask yourself, what is the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions? Well, I found that on the AA website, aa.org, I will link that up right down below in the description. You can actually look through the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. The introduction briefly summarizes what it is. It reads, Alcoholics Anonymous first published 12 Steps and 12 Traditions in 1953. Bill W., who along with Dr. Bob S., founded Alcoholics Anonymous in 1935, wrote the book to share 18 years of collective experience within the fellowship on how AA members recover and how our society functions. In recent years, some members and friends of AA have asked if it would be wise to update the language, idioms, and historical references in the book to present a more contemporary image for the fellowship. However, because the book has helped so many alcoholics find recovery, there exists strong sentiment within the fellowship against any change to it. So it has remained unchanged because it works. Step 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol and our lives had become unmanageable. Who cares to admit complete defeat? Admission of powerlessness is the first step in liberation. Relation of humility to sobriety. Mental obsession plus physical allergy. Why must every AA hit bottom? This, by far, is the step that had the most impact on my life. When I was finally ready to not only admit, but accept that I was completely powerless over alcohol and drugs, I could not move on. And that I still practice to this day. I have, as you may know, tried this, that, and the other thing to drink and use successfully and have crashed and burned every time. So I have admitted without a shadow of a doubt that I am powerless over alcohol. And in this book, it explains more on the first step, step 1, in my opinion, the most important. Step 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. What can we believe in? AA does not demand belief. 12 steps are only suggestions. Importance of an open mind. Variety of ways to faith. Substitution of AA as a higher power. Plight of the disillusioned. Roadblocks of indifference and prejudice. Lost faith found in AA. Problems of intellectuality and self-sufficiency. Negative and positive thinking. Self-righteousness. Defiance is an outstanding characteristic of alcoholics. Step 2 is a rallying point to sanity. Right relation to God. So in all the books of AA and in the rooms of AA, you'll find the word God mentioned a lot. Because of our modern times and individual personalities and beliefs, God can mean a personal thing to whoever the reader is. For me, God means group of drunks. AA is my higher power. I chose AA as my higher power because I didn't have the power to quit drinking. I tried and almost died. I noticed that AA has been working for 100 years, so I said, I'll do whatever you say, AA, even pray. So the word God is mentioned. It is a God of the reader, a God of your understanding. Step 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. Step 3 is like opening of a locked door. How shall we let God into our lives? Willingness is the key, dependence as a means to independence, dangers of self-sufficiency, turning our will over to higher power, misuse of willpower, sustained and personal exertion necessary to conform to God's will. So already I'm noticing that these paragraphs are just summarizing what lies in the content of each of these chapters. That 1, 2, and 3 you'll hear in the rooms are the building blocks of recovery. Steps 1, 2, and 3. Made the decision. To me, this meant I'm gonna stop using my own ideas and go with AA's ideas because they work. And that was almost 4 years ago, and it has worked when nothing else has. So like I said, to be interpreted by you, the reader. Step 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. How instincts can exceed their proper function. Step 4 is an effort to discover our liabilities. The basic problem of extremes in instinctive drives. Misguided moral inventory can result in guilt, grandiosity, or blaming others. Assets can be noted with liabilities. Self-justification is dangerous. Willingness to take inventory brings light and new confidence. Step 4 is beginning of lifetime practice. Common symptoms of emotional insecurity are worry, anger, self-pity, and depression. Inventory reviews relationships, importance of thoroughness. This is the inventory of ourselves. Step 4 to me means exploring the character defects of ourselves that we are ashamed of. Pitiful and ugly and embarrassing, fearlessly honest inventory of ourselves. The principles of step 4 I have found to be essential to any kind of recovery, whether it be from drugs and alcohol to death, grief, divorce, any kind of recovery from illness. Basically a rigorous and honest inventory of the situation and oneself, so we no longer run from it to, in this case, drugs and alcohol. Step 5, admitted to God, ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 12 steps deflate ego. Step 5 is difficult but necessary to sobriety and peace of mind. Confession is an ancient discipline. Without fearless admission of defects, few could stay sober. What do we receive from step 5? Beginning of true kinship with man and God. Lose sense of isolation, receive forgiveness and give it, learn humility, gain honesty and realism about ourselves. Necessity for complete honesty. Danger of rationalization, how to choose the person in whom to confide. Results are tranquility and consciousness of God, oneness with God, and man prepares us for following steps. We admitted to God, and I admitted to my sponsor, and I frequently I'm not too afraid of admitting my faults, as you may well know from watching this channel. I tell you all my faults. I let them free. It is said that we're only as sick as our secrets. In step 5, we admit to a God of our understanding, to another human being, and most importantly to ourselves. This is after we find them, of course, in step 4, and it releases those secrets. Step 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all of these defects of character. Again, God comes up. It is the God of your understanding. For me, this meant I was entirely ready to have Alcoholics Anonymous, the principles of Alcoholics Anonymous, remove my defects of character. I started practicing the principles, even though I didn't want to, some of them, and was willing to have them remove my defects of character. Step 6, this chapter explores necessary to spiritual growth, the beginning of a lifetime job, recognition of difference between striving for objective and perfection, why we must keep trying. Be ready is all important. Necessity of taking action, delay is dangerous, rebellion may be fatal. Point at which we abandon limited objectives and move towards God's will for us. In my case, AA's will, and for your God of your understanding, whatever that may be. My will that I used to live by, my superficial objectives in life, were getting me drunk, in jail, damn near dead. So I had to adopt another set of principles, and I chose AA, and it has worked. Step 7, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. What is humility? What can it mean to us? The avenue to true freedom of the human spirit. Necessary aid to survival, value of ego puncturing. Failure and misery transformed by humility. Strength from weakness. Pain is the admission price to new life. Self-centered fear, chief activator of defects. Step 7 is change in attitude, which permits us to move out of ourselves toward God. I don't know about you, but it's really no wonder to me why this stuff works and has for damn near a century. Step 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them all. This and the next 2 steps are concerned with personal relations. Learning to live with others is a fascinating adventure. Obstacles, reluctance to forgive, not admission of wrongs to others, purposeful forgetting, necessity of exhaustive survey of past, deepening insight results from thoroughness, kinds of harm done to others, avoiding extreme judgments, taking the objective view. Step 8 is the beginning of the end of isolation. You've probably heard many times that the fellowship of AA is one of the many benefits of AA, and the fellowship is essential. We isolate. In the end of my drinking days, I was drinking alone and avoiding social situations that didn't have drugs and alcohol. And step 8 is clearing the wreckage from our relational past. Step 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. A tranquil mind is the first requisite for good judgment. Good timing is important in making amends. What is courage? Prudence means taking calculated chances. Amends begin when we join AA. Peace of mind cannot be bought at the expense of others. Need for discretion, readiness to take consequences of our past, and to take responsibility for well-being of others is the spirit of step 9. Step 8 and step 9 go together. It's basically making a list of who you've harmed and making amends to them in step 9. This, to me, when I first started thinking about AA, years before I actually got sober, I dreaded making amends. There was a number of people in my past that I had harmed in one way or another, and I dreaded this one personally. A lot of people dread step 4, but step 9, making amends to all those I had harmed while drinking, was intimidating to me. But when I finally got around to it, it was liberating. You won't always get the forgiveness and the answers that you expect or want, but the point is clearing your side of the street, saying I'm sorry, making amends for financial restitution, and also letting people know that I personally let them know that I am making a change in my life, and the biggest amends you can make is staying sober, sometimes called a living amends. Step 10, continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Can we stay sober and keep emotional balance under all conditions? Self-searching becomes a regular habit. Admit, accept, and patiently correct defects. Emotional hangover. When past is settled with, present challenges can be met. Varieties of inventory, anger, resentments, jealousy, envy, self-pity, hurt pride, all led to the bottle. Self-restraint first objective. Insurance against big shotism. Let's look at credits as well as debits. Examination of motives. This is a constant inventory as we live our lives. I personally always have started asking myself, am I doing the next right thing? And all of these steps do things that I didn't even expect in my life. One of which was doing the next right thing, taking a constant inventory of myself, eliminated fear and guilt from my life. And that has opened up so many avenues for me in my personal life. Step 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. Meditation and prayer, main channels to higher power. connection between self-examination and meditation and prayer, an unshakable foundation for life. How shall we meditate? Meditation has no boundaries, an individual adventure. First result is emotional balance. What about prayer? Daily petitions for understanding of God's will and grace to carry it out. Actual results of prayer are beyond question. Rewards of meditation and prayer. I thought for a second it was going to say actual results of prayer may vary. Prayer and meditation. Meditation for me, I have discovered mindfulness, being present, being grateful, living life every moment. I believe in the power of prayer, and AA, my higher power, practices prayer, and so do I, because it keeps me sober. These things may mean something different for you. I consult my sponsor. I go to AA for experience, strength, and hope. And you start to figure these things out. But mindfulness for me personally has changed my life and saved my life. Now, step 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Joy of living is the theme of the 12th step. Action, its keyword. Giving that asks no reward. Love that has no price tag. What is a spiritual awakening? A new state of consciousness and being is received as a free gift. Readiness to receive gift lies in practice of the 12 steps, the magnificent reality. Rewards of helping other alcoholics, kinds of 12th step work, problems of 12th step work. What about the practice of these principles in all of our affairs? Monotony, pain, and calamity turned to good use by practice of steps. Difficulties of practice, two-stepping, switch to 12-stepping, and demonstrations of faith. Growing spirituality is the answer to all of our problems. Placing spiritual growth first, domination and overdependence, putting our lives on give-and-take basis, dependence upon God necessary to recover of alcoholics, practicing these principles in all of our affairs, domestic relations in AA. Outlook upon material matters changes, so do feelings about personal importance. Instincts restored to true purpose. Understanding is key to right attitudes, right action, key to good living. And before I sum this all up, there are 12 traditions. You can read those at your leisure. I would like to just touch on tradition 3, which I believe is the most important thing to realize if you're not familiar with AA. Tradition 3 on page 139. The only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. Early intolerance based on fear. To take away any alcoholic's chance at AA was sometimes to pronounce his death sentence. Membership regulations abandoned. 2 examples of experience. Any alcoholic is a member of AA when he or she says so. So, like I said, one of the biggest obstacles for alcoholics and addicts to AA and NA is the mention of the word God. You don't have to be religious. You don't have to be a spiritual guru. You don't have to meditate on a mountaintop and any of that. These are things to go through with your sponsor. The main thing when you go to AA is we're sick, obviously, or we wouldn't have to go to AA. So the utilization of a sponsor in the very beginning is essential because our minds don't work. We have to listen to one who has done it. And your sponsor, he or she can walk you through these books. I am just doing a summary, and I hope it helps. Like I said, I'm linking up the link to the physical book down below. You can, in the description, if you're on your phone, you got to hit that drop-down arrow to get to the description, and you'll find links and resources to buy the books or go to the AA website. I also put the link to the AA.org where you can just read this off the screen on your tablet or your PC if you want to do that. The main thing to leave with is these words in these books work. And like I said, I'm making a playlist. You can find it on my channel. I'm calling it AA Books. Check them out. Because I'm a child of the 80s and I listened to the California Raisins rap song about how cool books were. But I will include in the descriptions how to get the books and where to find them online. Question of the day. Do you incorporate reading into your sobriety? I often see people carrying their big book heavily marked up, dog-eared, and I personally don't like to mark up my book because then I only pay attention to what I underlined and marked. So the only thing I've marked in my book is my sobriety date. I suggest you do the same. These books can also be found in every room of AA. No matter where you go, if you can't afford a book, somebody will work with you. Well, that's about it for the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions book. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell. Share to get this message out there. And until next week, keep it clean, keep it real, and keep doing this damn thing. Peace.